Just kidding. Okay, it is 6:06 on March 1st, and I will call our regular March meeting to order. The first item on our agenda is public comments. We have so many lovely members of the public with us, both virtually and in person. Before inviting you to speak, I want to give my little spiel I give each time, which is to say that the Norfolk Board of Education welcomes public comment. We love to hear from everyone. We ask that comments be kept to under 5 minutes, and we also want to make sure everyone realizes that it is our policy not to address public comment right away, but rather to get back to anyone that needs a response after there's been some time to consider what's been said. Okay, so with that, if anyone online would like to comment, please go to the chat room and let us know. And if there's anyone here in person who'd like to comment, you're welcome to.
I asked the band to raise their hand in the Zoom or go in the chat. No one is commenting.
So would you like to?
Oh, sure. My name is Christopher Snyder, and I am the 5th grade teacher at Hotel Elementary School. My current address is 37 North Canton Road, Barkhamsted, Connecticut. Unfortunately, my graduate school class does not allow me to be in person with you tonight, but I appreciate the opportunity to present my thoughts. After hearing of your proposed plan for staffing and the budget at last month's Board of Education meeting, many questions and concerns arose for myself and my fellow colleagues. To begin, just 5 miles down the road, Colebrook Consolidated School has the same enrollment numbers as we do, yet will not move to a multi-age model. In what way have they organized their school that allows them to retain all of their staff and maintain steady annual state test scores? Warren School, which some staff members visited to observe multi-age in action and was used as a model for our own multi-age plan, now has only one multi-age classroom and has reverted the rest of their school back to single grade. Why? Within our own building, we had to reverse our own decision of multi-age math due to poor student performance and the impracticality of meshing 2 grade levels of standards into one classroom. In reading and writing, the learning gaps are bigger, potentially spanning across 4 grades.
And is talking to us.
Which creates difficulty in meeting students' needs. We've been pushing ourselves for years to support students who are struggling, while at the same time providing enrichment for students who are ready to go beyond the grade level standards. But gaps this large make that virtually impossible. Research shows a recommendation of at least 2 years before implementing a multi-age classroom. However, this advantage was not presented to us as the decision to make ELA multi-age for 5th and 6th grade was made just weeks before the end of the last school year. The 5th, 6th grade multi-age should be paused to give staff the time to appropriately prepare the curriculum and make sure it is developed before multi-age starts, instead of as it is happening. We should maintain 2 teachers for grades 5 and 6 so that students can switch classes for subjects in order to better prepare students for middle school and working with multiple teachers throughout the day. These questions and concerns have been brought to the attention of our school administration by various staff members, but we do not feel as if these concerns have been met. For those in attendance, I encourage you to read the advantages and disadvantages of multi-age classrooms in the era of Nickleby accountability by Rooting Song, Multi-Aged Instruction, an Outdated Strategy or a Timeless Best Practice by Valerie Ritlanda, and Instructional Practices and Implementation Issues in Multi-Age Classrooms by Patricia A. Flower. To the Chairman of the Board of Education, I implore you to conduct an anonymous survey of all staff members at Hotel to better gauge the experiences of multi-age teaching and the climate that it creates within our school. Thank you again for this opportunity to share my questions and concerns this evening. And the copies of those references are what was, I believe, in those.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Do we have any other public comments? Okay, we'll move on to the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of February 1st. Everyone should have received those minutes in their packet. And a chance to look over it.
I'm going to approve the minutes of February 1st.
Okay. Motion made and seconded. All those in favor? Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Next, we're gonna move on to correspondence. There are a couple things of note here. First, I wanted to let the board know that I was able to meet with and speak with Andy Bukulski over the weekend. He is the chairman of the Colbrook Board of Ed. And Ginger and John joined me. It was a good conversation. It was very low key. They know, as we discussed, the intention of the meeting was just to kind of start developing a positive relationship, hear what their struggles are, what they're doing to meet them, you know, what their successes are, that kind of thing. It was very loose, and it was a nice way to talk. So you know, we're hopeful to continue those sort of conversations and just keep building that goodwill. So it was really positive. Also, under correspondence, I think is a good place to talk about the vacancy on our board. As you know, we received a letter from Gordon Anderson stepping down from the board, and so we have a vacancy to fill. Last month, we talked about putting together an ad hoc committee, nominating committee for that vacancy, and I invited everyone to send in their thoughts as well. Tonight we have a couple of nominations to discuss, I think. I would like to ask for those nominations now. And also in that process, I asked that anyone who was going to be nominated would be asked to provide a bio, and I would like that to be read as part of like a nominating speech. So, Jen.
The nomination for Heather Gomez. Would you like her bio?
Which could you want to read it? Okay. Well, no, it's like a nomination.
Okay. So we read it now?
Yeah.
Okay. Heather Gomez is a Norfolk resident and currently has 2 children attending Botel in grades 1st and 6th. I feel fortunate to be part of this great small town since I was a young child, even though I didn't become a resident until 3 years ago. My husband and I, before having children, knew where we wanted our children to grow up, and we were lucky enough for things to fall into place for us. The summer before COVID hit. I remember my days as a child year-round, enjoying all the wonderful assets this town has to offer with my grandparents and my family members. I am currently acting postmaster of the Salisbury Post Office and have been part of the UPS Postal Service for the last 5 years. I've taken many leadership roles since I've entered the post office. I continue moving forward, taking on challenges and overcoming and finding solutions for them. Prior to the United States Postal Service, I worked with many homeowners and businessmen in town with family businesses of David J. Mahoney Painting, assisting in running the business effectively, working with customers and coworkers. I'm a hard believer in teamwork, and many minds together can create imaginable things. Norfolk is a great town. Botel in Northwestern Region 7 are wonderful schools, and I'm proud to say my family and I enjoy being a part of.
Sure.
Sorry, my printer's loading.
And did you want to add anything?
No,
else in the,
Oh, so no, yeah.
about her? And do you have a?
Oh no, about her, I think she's great. I think she's wanting to be more active in the school system, PTO and stuff like that. I think, you know, since COVID, it's kind of set her on the back burner a little bit. I think she does have the school interest and the children's interest at heart, you know. I feel like she's a strong player.
Great, excellent. And do you have another second position? Oh, okay. Thank you very much, and thank you to Heather. Very nice. I'd also like to make a nomination. I'd like to nominate an Amy Bennett, and I'll read to you the bio that Amy prepared. Amy says, "I'm honored to be considered for the vacancy of the Board of Education. I grew up in Norfolk, attended Botel, and graduated from Northwestern before moving out of state, where I earned a bachelor's in fine arts and then a master's in education. I've worked in public education for 17 years, and I'm currently employed in the Region 1 school district. In addition to my role as a classroom teacher, I have served on the advisory groups to the administrations of my prior and current administrations, taken on leadership roles within my department, and developed a specialized program to address the changing needs within my school. Having worked in both the local, rural, and large urban school systems allows me the advantage of having seen challenges facing schools and a variety of solutions that have been employed. I'm excited by the prospect of bringing my experience and dedication to the Norfolk Board of Education and the students we serve." And I wanted to just give a little pitch for Amy as well. I've known Amy now for a long time, and have really gotten to know her as she has been very active in the Norfolk community. She has been a consistent voice for Botel. She stands up and appears at town meetings, at Board of Ed meetings, at the Board of Finance. She currently serves as an alternate on the Board of Finance. And she has always taken like gone the extra mile to explain her point of view, to build her thoughts and her opinions like come from the ground up. You know, I feel like she really listens to the things that she hears and takes them into account and makes very measured and very thoughtful decisions. I have always been impressed with her ability to remain sort of calm and collected and very even and thoughtful in all of her exchanges. So I really very strongly support her and would really love to see her join our board and to be a voice here. Also, one more thing I wanted to mention is that one of the first times I really noticed Amy in these meetings was during the consolidation discussions the first time around, which was now quite a few years ago. But something I really liked about Amy is that she didn't take a position and then just kind of doggedly follow it. She really thought like, you know, maybe this is a better choice, maybe that is a better choice, and tried hard to make arguments that were balanced on either side so she could figure out, you know, really where she wanted to, which direction she wanted to advocate. And I really admired that and took that to heart for figuring out, you know, I thought what are good ways to approach the problem. So, so with that in mind, I nominate Amy for the position. So at this point, we've received 2 nominations, and we will take a vote for which of these candidates we would like to appoint to fill the open seat. Okay. And if I'm doing anything wrong here, Mary Beth, you just stop me along the way. Okay. Okay, so all those in favor of appointing Amy Bennett to fill the vacancy left by Gordon Anderson, say aye and raise their hand. Aye. Thank you. All those in favor of appointing Heather Gomez to fill the vacancy left by Gordon Anderson, to say aye. Sorry.
I do, I'm not again, sorry.
No, of course. And,
I do think you're great.
you know, this might, and I guess next I would say, if there's any discussion, this would be a good time to have it. One thing I would like though to talk about is actually not, I wouldn't, anyway. I would like to say, I really strongly support having alternate opinions and alternate nominations and those sorts of things. I really truly believe that there is no good path forward without honest discussion. And so it's important to speak your mind and do what you think is right and to put it out there. And you should never, please, ever, anyone on the board, never feel like you are being hurtful or doing the wrong thing by not agreeing. We do not have to agree to be friends, and we definitely shouldn't agree all the time in order to make the best decisions.
I disagree.
That's fair. That's fair. Okay.
I should open
Can I
yourself
just-
up for that.
Can I add that I think we're really fortunate to have two candidates to choose from that are both willing and able, and thank you, Heather, and thank you, Amy.
Absolutely.
And I encourage Heather, the next time that there is an open election or a vacancy, to nominate for again, because she would be a valuable member to the board.
Absolutely. Well said. Thank you. Okay, so with that, I'd like to ask for someone to make a motion that we appoint Amy Bennett to fill the vacancy. Thank you, Janet.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor?
All right.
Okay, motion carries. Congratulations, Amy.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
We'll see Linda.
Yes.
Morning.
Okay, next on our agenda is the superintendent's report.
Okay, so I had sent out laundry list of things, so let me start by asking if there are any questions about any of these things, although I should go through them quickly because some of you did not get your packets. I understand, so just today. All right, so we're gonna go through the budget a little bit later. I can go over that. We are now up to 4 snow days. Our official last day of school is now the 15th. As of this week, yesterday, masks are optional for students and staff at the hotel. Lauren, I was not here yesterday, but Lauren told me that there were a couple staff members and maybe a couple dozen students that opted to wear masks. So we do have some people wearing masks. And they are no longer required on the bus either. And I don't know if I thought it might be helpful to see this chart. 124 districts in Connecticut, this chart had been surveyed to see if they were going to expand the mandate at the local level or make it optional. And over 90% of the districts across the state went optional with masking. So we are definitely in the majority of that practice.
How did things go with the masks coming off? How does it feel like it's been all right? It's been, or has there been stress? Or?
There has not appeared to be any, people have been very quiet about it. All of last week, I was kind of trying to get a handle on the pulse of things, and I had an off the record conversation with the union president to say, you know, are you hearing anything? Are teachers anxious? Are they excited? And she said, nothing. We've heard nothing. She said, you want me to take a survey? I said, no, we don't need a survey. I just want to know. And we did put something out to say, you know, if you're at all concerned or uncomfortable, talk to us because we want to support anybody through this. I've not heard anything. I've talked to Lauren several times today. She had not mentioned anyone coming to her. We've not, I had one parent send me an email to say, thank you. I think it's the right choice to make them optional, but it's been very quiet and it was almost as seamless taking the masks off as it was putting them on. It was great to see kids' faces today. It was wonderful to walk through the building and see kids' smiles and faces. I'm not aware of any downside of this latest development. And again, we'll continue to watch closely and adjust as needed. But at the moment, we've been in a good place. We've had 0 cases at the school, 0 quarantining for quite a while now. The state seems to be going into the right direction as well.
Litchfield County is green. So we're in a good place, fingers crossed that we continue to stay in that place. Any other questions about the state of,
I think the kids were excited, yeah, actually.
Yeah.
Especially to not have to bring them on the bus. We're very excited about that.
okay, I know that Ginger's probably going to talk a little bit about it later because it was covered in our technology and curriculum meeting today, but we did have a comprehensive security audit. We have a comprehensive report that came back, not unexpectedly and not atypical. There were many, many areas of that audit that came out as really needing to be addressed. In the time period since that report, we have addressed many, many of those issues, and I'm awaiting now a proposal from Ed Advance for the cost associated with some of the things that need to be done to bring us up to at least an adequate, if not strong, position in terms of our cybersecurity. One of the things, for instance, is the training for staff to help them to understand or to recognize phishing or any other unsafe things, and they implement tests to see if in fact people are following protocols, and some software that we might need to update. So I don't imagine that it's going to be very expensive, and we do have money in our budget, and we'll talk about the budget later. We have a line item for safety and security, and one of the things in our capital improvement plan is there's a $10,000 amount that we put in that plan for every year to address anything that comes up in terms of safety and security. We don't always know at the time of the budget development what those things are going to be, because usually our walkthroughs and our assessments of safety happen in the fall. So we have that $10,000 placeholder. So at this point, we do have money in the budget to address some of the, I would think, cybersecurity would fall under safety and security for all of us. So I don't have any concerns about the financial impact. And it really is critical for us to be doing everything possible to keep our technology safe and secure. Our day custodian has submitted a letter of resignation. We had interviews a good part of the day today with some very strong candidates. I believe we're going to call 3 back for walkthroughs and second interviews. So we anticipate filling that position very quickly. I'll keep you informed there. This I'm just going to pass out. Last month, I passed you out a document that has population that expanded Norfolk by about 500%. So these are the population, and there's not a lot there aren't a lot of other changes here. I did add Litchfield Public Schools. Chris did forward information to me about their tuition rates, and I added Region 15 and Region 12 in terms of their population. The individual towns in that region were not available, and the asterisks indicate that the Litchfield and Region 12 and Region 15 populations are from a year earlier than the others. I couldn't get the 2021 numbers for those districts. The others are current, the most recent 2021. Cost per pupil. Any questions about that?
So these are 2021 costs per people?
Yes, except for the ones with the asterisks, those are 1920.
Oh.
And Kathy had, I don't have it with me, but we will have, once the budget is totally finalized, in the budget to compute or calculate the cost per pupil, you don't take the total budget and divide it by the number of students in the school. There are several things that you take out of there. I know transportation is one, I think special ed is one, and then there's a formula that you plug in all of your numbers. And so I believe our cost per pupil, Kathy, do you remember it's closer to between 26 and 29.
Yeah, I wanted to say 27.
It's under $30,000, whereas, so if out on the street, people are looking at our budget and dividing it by 69 or 70 children, they will come up with a much higher number. So just so that you know, it's probably close to $10,000 less than calculating it that way. Any questions on the bills for review? Which I usually forget now. Okay. I do want to just clarify that, and explain to the board about, maybe a month ago, Sally Carr, who is she bleeds Norfolk and she just loves the history of this town and is always looking for ways to bring some of that to our students. And she approached me about a woman that she ran into who she had had as a teacher there many years ago. And had taught at hotel, lived in the community, was a beloved woman. And she's 94 years old, but I understand she's still teaching dance classes and very active. And Sally asked if we could have this woman come and speak to our students. And we said, it'd be wonderful for our kids to hear from someone who taught here probably 50 years ago, 40 years ago, 50 years ago, and talk about what life at hotel was, when at that time. And so we arranged a date and planned a good news gathering for this woman to come and present to our students. Unbeknownst to Lauren or I, this information was shared with folks in the spirit of excitement and ended up on Facebook, inviting everybody and anybody to come to Hotel and suggesting that there would be some kind of a luncheon. And I got a phone call, thank you, Ann, to say, Mary Beth, what do you know about this? And I said, absolutely nothing. So at that point, we started to do a little bit of damage control. So it's on our website that the part of the plan where anyone from the public who decides to come will come in the doors into the Hall of Flags through the outside doors. We will have seating arranged in the Hall of Flags for any guests. The curtains will be open and the space between the stage will be open. Our speaker and students will all be in the gym. So there will be great social distancing. And we are requiring that anyone from the public is vaccinated and wears a mask while they're here. So there will be social distancing, there will be masks and some kind of assurance of vaccination from any public member who does come. When the presentation is over, the public will leave through the outside door after the presentation. And if there's to be any public socializing and meeting with her afterwards, it will take place at either a residence home or a local place, but we will not be hosting any gathering. That was never part of our plan. And had we known about the communication, we would have tried to get out ahead of it. But to our knowledge, it was going to be an in-school part of the news gathering experience for our kids. So I think we're in a place now where it's all set, all resolved, and we will do as best we can moving forward to make sure that we set some boundaries in these kinds of situations and make sure that we don't have to be doing damage control.
Mary Beth, could you maybe I think since COVID, we've gotten it's hard to remember exactly what the policies are for public entering the school. But can you talk to us a bit about that? Can people enter the school routinely? And what can you just describe how they come in and what they have to show or how that works?
So, we have always had a policy where people come in, they check into the office. At this point, we are asking any visitor who comes in to have a mask, and we have masks available. We have determined that people like PTO and folks that come and use our building as part of our family bubble, that we are not going to put any restrictions on people within our hotel school community. Visitors, however, will be asked to wear a mask. We are not going to go through a verification of vaccination for every visitor that comes in, but we will make sure that we're monitoring any interaction with kids and watch that very closely. At this point, we really have no guidance from the state, from the public health department or the local health department in terms of guidance for any of this. So we're kind of just keeping in place the things that have been working for us and to the best of our ability, keeping our kids safe. We don't get a lot of outside traffic, and certainly when we have social events, we will look at how we need to organize those things to make sure that we have taken all the precautions.
I think it's a good idea for everybody listening to. That, I mean, I could not be a bigger advocate of everyone sharing the wonderful things that are happening at the hotel. But sometimes with these like very specific instances like this or events, I think it's smart to always be kind of focusing people back on going to the school administration for how that event will be handled, just so that it's, you know, things are so complicated right now at this moment with the unmasking and coming off of COVID or figuring out where we are in the world, that it's complicated. So we want to make sure everybody's knows what. What's
Technically,
going
we could still uphold the COVID rules for July 30th. Or are they still like optional and for outside guests and stuff? Like, you know, the mask isn't implemented, technically that order still till July 30th.
I think it's my and I could, you can, if you guys know better, but my understanding is that we can choose how we want the
Right.
public to be treated. Like we can choose to have them say,
Right, that's
you have to
what-
show their vaccination
Okay,
card.
that's what I thought, so like July 30th or something, so.
Is it only till July 30th?
I believe so. I believe there is a deadline on the executive order, but it, like you said, would be the discretion of the board of how or what you implement. So as far as like outside events and stuff, I do believe technically we can still follow that without issues.
So the executive order, the legislature, my understanding, voted on 11 different pieces of that executive order that they would carry through. And I'm not aware of any other school requirements that would be supported by an executive order, but you are absolutely right that the board could put into policy and make their own rules. And certainly for any of our events or social activities, we can determine what precautions and safeguards we want.
I mean, would we be able to do that always
Always,
without the,
yeah.
without the order? You could still say.
And even with the, well, so there's also the guidance. And the guidance was never had any legal standing. They were always recommendations. So we follow those recommendations in terms of quarantine periods and anything that was a recommendation, we did follow, but there was no law. So for instance, if we had a child that, you know, was positive in the home and couldn't isolate, the guidance was the 14 days of the person in the home plus 10 days for the child, 24 days. But there was no, I'm sorry, absolutely no, stop it. I'm sorry. There was never any, we couldn't make them, you know. So a lot of the things that we have been doing have been recommendations, with the exception of the mask and the vaccinations, and now those are all gone. So right now we're no longer restricted to only hire people who are vaccinated. Our teachers and staff members who are not vaccinated are not required to have weekly testing. All of that has gone away.
For the Mrs. Cooper events, for those, I think it's great to go in and out of the hall flags, but then that's also means they have stairs. So if they need to come to the school for elevator use,
We would escort them
just
through and
accommodate
take
that.
them down the next elevator. Yeah.
Excuse me, beyond COVID, what was the policy like before COVID on the public attending assemblies? Like there was a performance or something, is that something where, was there a policy on that?
We did not have restrictions, you know, pretty much anyone who came, they were in our extended family, they were guests of families. And so we had a promotion ceremony, a PTO function. We have, other than when people are coming into the school and into the school during the school hours, they have to come in and be, you know, signed into the office, wear a badge. We did not require that of people when we had a concert or a curriculum
Veterans Day
celebration.
assembly, we would do. But we wouldn't have all the veterans sign in.
No, we didn't have anybody sign
Right.
for those. I mean, some of those big things we did not do. And again, we knew who the veterans were and we checked them off when they came in
And we knew.
and their families. And in a small place, you know, people know people. Is there the occasion that someone could come in and it could happen, but we have never discussed having any policy in place to put any additional screening or vetting protocols into place.
Did we have any other questions or?
Yeah, I'm just excited that we can have someone at a good news gathering
Yeah.
and see Sally's vision sort of start to come into fruition, because I think it's important for the kids to interact with people outside of the school and learn from the history of what it was like, you know, at Norfolk Center School or hotel or whatever it is. But yet do it safe and protect our kids, because not every child is vaccinated. And, you know, we want to protect her, and she's 94. So, right?
And yeah, I guess, you know, the social media announcements may be a little bit of a bump in the road, but I guess that's to be expected as we're trying to kind of navigate through these new times. So it is great because, as you mentioned, like, it's been a board goal that we have more community connection. This is definitely a way to build that connection. I know that I have very fond memories of the teacher, and I know a lot of others of my age group will have those memories too. So I think it'll be a nice event. And even if people can't come, like, I probably won't be able to come. I just like the idea that she's here and and that she's teaching line dancing. That's pretty cool. Okay. Does anyone else have any other questions for Mary Beth while she's on the hot seat here? Okay.
The rest of the conversation, I think I want to make sure we have ample time to talk about the budget, and John and Sam and Katie have been covering that. So unless you've got any questions for me.
All right. The principal's report, are you going to give that for us?
I have that, and you have the report in your packet, but there were a couple of things she asked me to share with you that she didn't, that weren't included. The first thing, she wanted to heartfelt thank you to the PTO for all of the wonderful way they treated the staff on Valentine's Day. They gave roses to everybody and made cakes and baskets of goodies, and it was really a lovely, lovely thing to do. And we want to thank all the PTO members for doing that. Also, she wanted to let you know that the Norfolk Lions Club donated 5 books to our library in order of Black History Month. So we have 5 new additions to the library, compliments of the Norfolk Lions Club.
Oh, that's nice. Did we, when that sort of thing happens, we write a thank you note, or how, like, we should do something really nice to say thank you?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yes. And we just had another a woman, I think it was the Children's Foundation that made bread and brought in.
Or the networking everyone together, I
Yes.
guess, the kindness initiative.
Yeah.
Right, paying it forward, it was really nice.
I know I've personally been sending out thank you notes, hopefully getting everyone, but I'm pretty positive that a letter went to the Lions Club. I will double check that with Ron.
When those sorts of things happen, it would be great to take a photo and put those on our social media. I think that would be a really nice way to, you know, and then we can tag that organization too, because it'll just
Excellent.
help grow our network.
Excellent.
Then people can come to us for instructions for how to do it. Oh, good.
Excellent. We will do that. And we have someone who's really great at taking that and making that, marketing that for us. So she says, thank you, Mr. Schneider and the 5th grade students who organized the Super Bowl and the food drive. Our community donated over 200 non-perishable food items. Student council has visited the Church of Christ to stock the pantry with food and hygiene donations. Winter concert was well attended, showcased our students in their musical abilities. Our band teacher and our choral teacher are wonderful and really did a great job preparing our kids for those concerts. She says thank you to Mr. Daly and Mr. Yeltsin and Mrs. Blasco for being behind the scene setup. Thank you, Mr. DeShazo, for his sound and recording support. It was fully a team effort. Thank you to PTO and NCCF for the paper airplane guide. Did any of you get to see that?
No, and I'm so disappointed. I was so excited for that guy to come, and and I was happy. You know, Lorelai came home very excited about being able to throw her airplane all the way across the house.
Yeah.
Turned the way it was supposed to and did cool stuff. So I hope that it went over.
It did. He did 2 sessions, one for the younger kids, one for the older kids, and they had a great time. It was very exciting. He got a lot of science and math in there, but the kids really walked away having a really good time. So again, we've got upcoming events, book visits, grades K through 4 coming up this week. We've got the Good News Gathering with Mrs. Cooper. progress reports are going home on the 18th. Parent conferences are scheduled for the March 23rd and 24th. Those are early dismissal days, and our kids will get out at 1:15. The cultural event was an art of inspiration. The drama club performs Little Mermaid Junior, 10 a.m. and 7 p.m.
Better say that one again because you all have to go.
The drama club, now so they're doing,
Just so you know.
the 10 a.m. is on a Friday at school, and then the 7 p.m. is an evening performance, right?
Yes.
Pam? And on April 1st, there'll be an early dismissal, 12 p.m. for professional learning. Also, we had talked a couple months ago about this month being the kind of state of hotel, doing an update on the assessments and where we are. But because of the budget meeting and Lauren could not be here, we're going to move that to next month. So we'll have plenty of time to dedicate to that presentation. Enrollment, I received a message yesterday that another one of our students has moved out of town. So that's number maybe 68, but we're projecting that, by the beginning of next year, we're going to be in the very low 60s. So right now we're still hovering around 70.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you to Lauren and to Mary Beth for giving the report. We're going to move on to our standing committee. Okay, so personnel and negotiations. Donna, would you like to-
Presently working on superintendent's contract and principal's contract for the next 3 years.
Excellent. Okay. Also, I know that the curriculum and technology committee met today. So I know it's not there. Ginger, maybe you'd like to just tell us a bit about that.
Some notes. So we just got some updates, math updates on the illustrative math. I don't know how much detail to be honest.
Just broad strokes.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing is that like we've been piloting illustrative math K through 5, and now that we're sort of through piloting it, Mary Beth can speak better to this, but we may have to bring the curriculum to the board to approve adopting the curriculum.
Oh, I see, because the pilot period is done.
Right. So maybe when
And it's, did they talk about how it's gone, that they feel pleased with this?
right, so that
Or this-
right, that the teachers have been, making instructional changes along the way and adapting. The illustrative math, and as a parent of a child in this, they don't really have a lot of practice. So the teacher's been using some older practice sheets and stuff, which are not really totally compatible. I just, not that I want anyone wants kids bogged down in work, but I think it's important to have at least a little bit of review when they're not right next to a teacher. But they do need something Wednesday where they work one-on-one with the teacher, Mary Beth, right?
I'm not exactly sure.
Yeah, Laura's not here. They like that while the kids are working, the certain kids can go and do one-on-one work, and that helps, I think, really personalize the instruction for each child. So they're getting that like real connected time with the teacher to help them get through. Yeah, so that's what they're doing, the win time in the math blocks. Students in grades 3 through 6 are engaging in IAB questions. I don't know what that, but they're preparing for the SBAC in May for the state testing. And they're continuing to work on communicating their quantitative reasoning, their math reasoning, both orally and written, so that they can write it down and express how they got the answers, but then also explain it to their classmates.
Real world skills.
Yeah. As someone who's seen children now for the past, children in my house for the past 18 years go through elementary math, I have the first time having a child that just kind of gets it and can actually multiply better than I can right now with like multiple numbers. you know, it's like, wow, I still can't do that.
Great.
So I think, and explaining how the answers were gotten in different ways. So that's, and Shiloh probably will then bring the curriculum with, you know, the outcomes and goals and activities to the board to present for full adoption. So that's math. Rachel and Solo gave the literacy update. They're meeting with, the big thing is the Ed Advanced Education Specialist to work on curriculum. So we've been using literacy curriculum, but what they want to do is put it together in a program that is best fit for the multi-age classrooms. Because it's one thing to just look at a curriculum and say, okay, this is how we're going to do it, but our classrooms are very specific and different than just, you know, following one curriculum for an entire classroom. So they're working with an advanced specialist to come up with programs.
So that's something that we talked about in our budget for next year, but we've already started doing that. That's already.
Right. Well, they're starting to meet with the specialist to get guidance on what to do. So I'm assuming once the budget is approved, then we can have that specialist on board, then that will happen. Because they need to write down the explicit like activities, outcomes, and goals for the multi-age classrooms. So that's also helping. Mary Beth talked about the technology update as far as the security audit. An outside organization did an advance, so we're working on security updates, server updates, upgrading hardware and software, which is already in our budget. Staff training, password security, things like that, making sure that certain devices are on certain servers with certain protection. A coach from Advanced came in to give feedback on this pilot program that the 5th and 6th graders are working on. It's a portfolio program called the FIP platform. And it's sort of like personalized enrichment cluster. Like they're not clustering, it's their own personal enrichment program. They get to choose their topic, their area that they want to research and identify and work on, either as a skill or whatever. And they're going to create portfolios and show evidence of their work, of their research, of their reasoning, of their evidence. So that will be part of the instructional. What is that day called in June?
The curriculum celebration.
Right, the curriculum celebration. So they'll be showing off that work.
That'll be great to see.
Right, but it's a great way to show their critical thinking, their research skills, their communication skills in a very focused way that is student-centered and student-driven, because it's something that they're interested in learning about. It's not someone saying, here's study elephants. They don't know about elephants. So
For curriculum night, have we ever invited out like members of the public, like beyond the parents specifically? I was wondering, like, and would that be appropriate? Like,
We have, I know we've like invited people from the town, like Libby and others. We have, we can talk about the invitation. Certainly.
just those sound like fantastic presentations, and I don't know, that curriculum night is so great. It's so great to see all the kids so proud of their work and to be so on display that way, and so I don't know, just pumped about academics. It's just fun to see. I think that would be a really good time to bring in, to invite the Board of Finance, to invite these folks that we talk to a lot, but maybe don't always see inside of our school.
Right. And for a small example, art is a big part of that night. And Shayna Baselman's just the art teacher. Lauren said with the older kids, she's doing more of a studio approach. So kids who want to learn more about pottery or about painting or different media, they get to work with each other and learn about it and work on projects. So it's not that every child in 5th grade or 6th grade is doing the same project. They're developing their own interests, and she's guiding them through that. So I'm really excited to see it look a little different.
Yeah.
Than like everybody have the same kinds of art up.
Good way to capitalize on our timeliness.
Right. So just the last update I'll give is the SELs, the social emotional learning and ruler update from Caitlin and Chabot. They're working on the ruler tool meta moment. The meta moment includes Like the steps include sensing how you're feeling, pausing, thinking of your best self, and then choosing a strategy, which I think we all as adults can even take time to learn. And, you know, she's just between the grades, like I think K-3 and older, like the little kids are learning a song, a silly song to the tune of Baby Shark to help them remember to pause before acting. And the upper and intermediate grades are working on analyzing their best self through books and the movie work. So they created self-portraits of themselves when they feel sad using watercolors. So they're expressing and recognizing how they're feeling, which I think is awesome. So that's the maybe more too detailed brush strokes, but
That was a lot of good information. Thank you very much.
you're welcome.
Okay, finance committee.
So the finance subcommittee met on the 15th to go over a few details and some slight changes to the budget. Pretty much everything is the same as last month. The bottom line is the same, but 1.0 decrease from last year's budget, 25,910 less from last year. We had been talking about putting the repair of the 7 security cameras in next year's budget, but that said we can pay for that out of funds that we have allocated for this year, so that will come out of this year's budget. So we went back to having the line item for the safety and security capital upgrades go back to the $10,000 placeholder in case something does come up. And as we talked about earlier, that could include the software. We went ahead and added so $3,000 to the culture improvement line on the first page there, just because we thought that it was important to state in our budget that that's something that we value, and as we have fewer students, maintaining.
So.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay, I wasn't sure.
Okay. As the population of students decreases, we feel that it's more important to have as many events as possible. One of the things that we talked about with Colebrook and we want to keep pursuing is to possibly have joint events with them so that the Botel students can get to know their neighbors, develop friendships, and to meet more people and have a greater community that they're involved in. So with the $13,000 10 and the 3 to cultural improvement, the budget stays pretty much where it was last month. Two things which affect the budget. Well, one thing that affects our budget directly was the bus company found a third driver. So we're back to 3 buses, and the bus company is going to be reimbursing us $9,000 for a credit for not having used that one bus route up through the end of February. So that will
They'll come back into our coffers for this year.
yeah. So that'll come back in the profit this year. That'll be and that less any other surpluses that we have less than $13,000 will go back to the town into the non-lapsing. Well, a portion of it will go into the non-lapsing account, I guess.
Yeah, I'm hoping that maybe the Board of Finance will revisit their vote or the action they took to approve up to 1%. Legally, they can put up to 2% of our budget into non-lapsing. So it would be nice if everything that goes back could go into that account, but that's a decision.
I wonder if that, so when you propose the budget, John, I wonder if that might be something you'd be interested in taking on that recommendation. I'm sure they look at that. Just with the idea that maybe it'll, help us to build build a bit of a cushion for, when the furnace needs to be fixed.
Sure. I mean, but I think that the furnace and things like that are more the town
Yeah,
budget.
that's true.
But yeah,
It would still help, you know.
Yeah,
I mean, we can't carry money over, and the parking lot's gonna have to be done, the roof's gonna have to be done. The
transport.
boiler is, you know, gonna need more help. So there are a lot of big capital improvement kinds of things that, you know, just the town of Norfolk, you know, the town pays for it, but it's for hotel. It'd be nice if we could say that some of that at least was coming from our surplus that we gave back to the town towards some of those big projects.
And one other number that changed, which doesn't directly affect budget, is that the bid for the slide replacement increased somewhat.
Somewhat.
The previous bid was $37,034, and they came back with a new estimate. Who knows? You'd have thought that with slides, the price would have gone down. But
We don't vote.
It climbed to $78,800. So the town's been talking about that for a while. Matt said money from the COVID relief funds would pay for it, but that was back when it was only 37,000. So that, I guess, it remains to be seen.
Well, at the last ARPA meeting, there was extreme support for bringing the proposal forward to the Board of Finance to fund it. The thought is that it will be funded in 3 increments. That they'll break it into 3 pieces. So that's something that the company offers, and it would just kind of allow that money to spread out over time and maybe use some of that ARPA money for other projects immediately, but
So
still have it.
presumably that will be discussed next Tuesday at the Board of Finance. So stay tuned. Great. And so aside from that, ideally we would vote up or down on just version the February 16th draft of the 2022-2023 budget. So we can then send it on to Board of Finance.
Is it the same slide that you're replacing? That was like the 30-something thousand, is the exact same slide that's the 70-something thousand?
Yes.
According to-
According to supplies and everything went up.
Yeah, the installation, the materials, and the shipping double, which I don't understand.
Is that what it's shipping?
Oh, it
Fill the
was-
materials,
it was-
Oh,
that's the major increase.
What if like the town control took it down, would it cost us if we took it down? And they just put it up? Do you know? Like would that,
Oh, I'm sure we could take it.
I'm sure, wouldn't that like decrease the cost?
It
So that is
might,
something
yeah,
that-
Handy
yeah.
people.
And actually, Matt has talked about having the town crew participate in it, in all of it, in order to bring down the cost somewhat. So I do think that figure can be negotiated a bit,
Yeah.
but what I think is really crucial is that we get the project approved and we keep moving forward, because in a time that it has not been approved, it has
It just keeps going up.
doubled. in cost. Doubled.
And part of it is with the installation is that it has to be, for insurance purposes, it has to be
Right. Well,
installed
that's, I mean,
by,
like,
yeah.
to take it down, it doesn't take any, like,
Right.
we can have all the kids go out there and
Sure.
back it down and they love it.
No,
I
we're
don't
gonna
think
teach them to
insurance
never
companies-
hurt the slide. No hurting the slide. Let's cross them. Oh,
The old one and not the new one. But yeah, I guess that's like possibility to cut the cost. you know?
Yeah, so I think Matt has in mind that if
If it
it's
gets approved.
feasible, that the town crew can help to do a bunch with putting in those things in the ground. This is not my field. The things in the ground that
Well,
hold the
apparently
wood.
it's all rotted, everything's rotted at this point. Yeah.
It's the pylons, that's it.
But there are portions of the slide that I think he said are reusable. It's just the corrosion of the wood and everything, right?
And we have some pieces that were already delivered that are just sitting,
Right.
waiting to be installed.
But it seems like this is really gonna move forward this time, so I'm really, we'll soon be on it.
So if the Board of Finance meeting is 7:30 next Tuesday at Town Hall.
Okay, so let's see.
We have not yet gotten a date for when they want the board to present, so I'm thinking probably would be April, but we might get information.
I
about
think,
that.
yeah.
Oh, it'll be in April.
So,
So we
Well,
will
yeah,
have one
that's
more
good.
meeting before their meeting, is that right?
yes, but I mean, sure. They typically like to get a copy
Ahead, yeah,
more than a weekend,
of course, yeah.
so.
Yeah.
So
you'd really like to move forward on it.
if we could, yeah, I ideally this, Okay.
A piece that I noticed is that in negotiating the superintendent and principal contracts, I think that will be adjusting line 97.
Yeah.
Um, uh, That we will not ask for an increase for superintendents. Um, That would be a change to the overall. Oh, that's right. So, yeah, so we're looking to, so rather than increasing the superintendent, what we'd like to do is to move that money to the insurance line to make sure that we're covered for anything that might need to come from that. You know, we're working, as you know, some of our contracts include insurance buybacks. So we're looking at the option of increasing buyback percentages to as a way to kind of work through our contract negotiations.
What line is the buyback?
Well, that would just, it's not actually in the line, it's just their insurance. Our insurance. But our insurance, you know, we have to fund our insurance to, you know, cover our full exposure anyway. So, but things change in our insurance line, depending on who exactly is working here and who is taking coverage and, you know, where they are, where they fall on the insurance, like age line and how much it costs, that sort of thing. So that's always a little bit of a moving target anyway. So we like to, you know, want to make sure that we don't overextend ourselves there. We want to make sure that we have enough in the line. But if that didn't change it, so that though would be a wash, and that would mean our overall budget would stay about the same, then, in which case that would represent about a 1% increase or decrease, 1% decrease is what we'd be asking for. 1.8%. This is not giving, not agreeing with me to make.
so So going to entertain a motion to pending the line item change. Future information, after the February 16th draft of the 2022 budget.
I would actually, motion. Would you like to make that motion?
I'll make that motion.
Okay. Would anyone like to second that motion? Okay. All those in favor of approving the budget pending that line change? Please say aye. Discussion?
Yes, please. So we're just approving the bottom line of exactly where all of the item, like every line item.
Yeah, well, it would be the majority of the line items. Even. It would just be that small.
The only
adjustment.
switch would be the $1,900 would be moved from the superintendent's salary line to the insurance line. That would be the only change.
So that's line 97.
Right.
And line, what's the other line?
I'm gonna abstain. I just have questions. Is that okay?
Yeah, ready to vote no.
I don't want to vote no, I'm just not.
Okay. Okay.
Since there was a public comment that addressed the budget, do we need to respond to that before we budget?
Well, we don't have to. We don't have to respond to public comment. I think we should respond to public comment in some way. but we're not obligated to, and we're not obligated to have it impact our budget.
Also, we're not necessarily, I mean, we're voting on approving this draft to send to the board of finance, but, we're meeting next month. If anything were to change.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Understood.
I wonder, it's too bad we don't have just a little bit of time, because if we have questions or concerns or anything like that, if we wanted to get. Although, so if we send a preliminary draft to the Board of Finance, we could adjust it before sending them our final proposal, you know, right? So give them a heads up of this is where we are just about out at, but we've got a couple of numbers that are in flux. But you think that would be, well, I mean, I do know that they're doing their due diligence. The Board of Finance wants to have some time to look over the budget and consider what all the numbers are. And if 98% of the budget is like, we're solid on, that could give them that time, but also give them the heads up that the minor adjustments. The other thing is we can hold off on that vote and we can still decide that it's appropriate or it's okay for us to talk with the Board of Finance or, like give some preliminary information about the directions we're leaning so they know that we're going to be giving you a budget that's about 1%. We're probably going to be giving you a budget that's about 1% under. But we'll have it all tightened up and ready to go after we vote at our meeting.
Well, I think the main thing is to let them know as soon as possible, more or less where we are, so that if they have any concerns, those can be addressed. If they have any feedback to give, they can next meeting. Consider that with the changes we might make.
And any other considerations you have. That's a good.
Yeah, I think it makes sense to send them a draft. To send them this draft with potential to incorporation based on anything else. So I would make that motion to send this draft Board of Finance as is.
So in that case, then I suppose we don't need a motion to, I guess our motion would be that we accept this draft. Right?
Yeah,
It's a draft.
that's why I said. That's why I called it that.
Yeah.
So we've approved this draft.
Right, which is different from the board voting to adopt the budget. So right now it's the superintendent's proposed budget. Once you vote on it, it's no longer my proposal, it's your budget. So if you have a motion to, I don't know.
Adopt a draft as opposed to accept it.
I think you would, we might want to just consider saying that, this is a draft that we, as a board, agree is in a stage where we can share it with the Board of Finance, if we understand that there may be some minor changes between now and our presentation, and that we would give them an adopted budget by April. What's the first Tuesday in April? We'll give them a week, but if they had this ahead of time, and then got an adopted budget, a couple minor changes, it's, I think, ample time for them to look it over. But right now, it's just a proposal. So I think the motion would be made to just that the board agrees. Typically, it doesn't get shared with anybody until it's adopted by the board. But if the board agrees that we can share this with the Board of Finance at this stage of the budget, understanding it hasn't been officially adopted.
Well, I think in our desire to be as, in partnership with the Board of Finance as possible, I think that, the sooner they are brought into the process, it will only better for us. Okay, so the motion has been made, was voted on, and it passes. Right, because we had.
But the motion was to adopt. So I don't think
So this would be a board approved budget, not a adopted budget?
The motion was to accept wasn't it to accept the proposed? Oh,
I
yeah.
think we accept the.
There's a motion on the table that I think has to be taken back.
Okay.
Let's start over.
Well,
Let's start over.
Okay, so,
Try
Scratch
that,
that.
John.
um, I move that we, provisionally approve, or,
Agree.
I move that we agree to, pending the two line item changes that I mentioned before, approve the February 16th draft of the 2022-2023 budget as presented, so that we can send the draft on to the Board of Finance, and we will take a vote as to adopting it as the final budget at our next board.
Did you get that? Bob?
It's recorded, so you can go back and watch it.
Oh,
All right, let's agree to approve pending line item changes to draft budget.
Yeah.
Is
and
that
share with the Board of Finance.
and share with the
Share with-
board. We share with the-
So we shared the current draft. Board of Finance. Okay, what was kind
We thought a few more words for the motion will be really good.
And then we'll have the final vote to adopt the budget. At the April meeting.
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Take back this.
Would you like to, then
Still
Ginger will
not-
abstain.
Yeah, I still have.
Okay.
So if I have questions, should I contact the finance subcommittee
Yeah, the finance subcommittee chair.
chair?
But if you have any questions, there's really.
What person's over? I mean, if you'd like to, if you want to have a conversation about it, oh. Conversation.
I don't want to take up too much time, and I don't want us to do things based on public comment and community things. I'm just gonna talk about. If we do end up having concerns about peers combined multi-age, especially the 5 class, and we decide to keep that teacher line and not lower the $55,026, our budget would change to $2,452,626.
Christine, to clarify, that's not the case. The budget will increase by well over $100,000.
Oh, if you then include the
The teacher's
insurance.
salary insurance would be well
Okay.
over $100,000 increase to the bottom line.
All right, so I haven't done that one. That's what because I was looking and I was like, that doesn't seem right. Because, okay. Because with just that, with just the salary, it's 1% increase. So then if you include insurance and what else would have to be?
Just to clarify, Virginia, in that line, that savings doesn't account for, so we, out of the teacher's salary, we reduced the salary of that one position. We then had to add in the salary increases for all of the other teachers, and we also included, I believe there's a para position that was covered by COVID this year that we added into that, so the net savings, that's net savings, but if you would have to add, maybe, what was the actual salary?
Top of my head.
Okay, but it would be the teaching position salary, and then in the insurance line, that would be another increase. So
So why don't you?
So the-
3%
for the bottom line, it would be about $100,000.
Right, so, okay, so.
So be plus 3.
So we do that. It's showing 1.03 increase. So
I think,
25,000 is 1%, and 75,000 would be about 3%.
no, I don't. It's 249.
I suppose, at this point in the process, like, I'm really, very moved, of course, by correspondence that we've received. That said, a very drastic change in position from away from our multi-age plan that we adopted and given a lot of time to, and to our intention for how we see these years play out. I feel like that would take some time to change course that dramatically after we spent these years hearing the evidence in favor of this, of this system, and building plans based on that. So I hesitate to change course so abruptly at the, and so that.
No, I agree, which is why before, like, this is sent, and we have some, like, unfinished business to at least just ask questions, and I feel like do our due diligence as far as getting a sense of what is, I'm not on the finance committee, so I don't know the conversations that have happened leading up to this point, right? And so I'm just looking at it the same, can we, I'm not gonna make a motion or whatever, but just like, can we just take a look at that in light of,
Well, I think that as the letter suggests, if there's some discussion to be had outside this meeting.
Right.
With other members of the community, and so we have time coming out and adopting the budget.
right?
To have that.
Yeah, I just wanted to see, like, so that, I'm happy that we would be able to save our taxpayers money with a 1% decrease. But I also sort of feel like, well, a 1% increase is not asking for a 5% increase in the budget with having less children. And if the changes that are in the budget have to be made, then that's fine. I just, I'm sorry, I can't just blindly be like, yeah, that's great. I approve. So that's why I'm just gonna abstain and just ask that, the finance committee take a look after maybe some more discussions. Maybe there's other solutions there too.
Well, and just for the record, so the elimination of this position had nothing to do with budgetary savings or anything. It had to do with our enrollment numbers and the conversations about the class sizes of 8 students as opposed to a community of 17 students. There were many, many decisions that went into that, but they weren't budgetary decisions. So I just wanted to put that on.
Right. Oh, I'm not saying that they were made because of the budget. I'm just saying that those decisions were made and it impacts the budget. And then if we're proposing a budget that shows that we are saying that, yeah, there's a decrease, and then we come back and say, oh, we've changed our mind, right? That might also not.
Right, yeah, so we put this forward and then say, we're gonna save 1%, take a look, real close, and then we're like, oh, just kidding, raising it 3%. Yeah.
So as of right now.
Right.
Right.
So I'm just asking, like, yeah, it's
It was
great.
further review.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we have not officially adopted this. So
Right.
there is still time. And I'm not saying that right now we have to have that conversation at 7:30. We've been here an hour and a half. Your kids are waiting outside.
Maybe I'll find another home.
I think maybe, all right, so let's think about the best.
You're retiring.
It's a big decision to reduce a teacher. It's a huge, heartbreaking decision, and so with that in mind, maybe this is the time when it's not worth the extra kind of goodwill and time that the Board of Finance would get with this with the budget. Maybe in this case, we should meet again, and with more evidence or more discussion about this plan forward. But in that case, do we want to, is that a conversation we have at the finance committee level, or is that a full board meeting kind of conversation? You know?
Can we have this, can we call a special meeting?
Another budget meeting.
Another budget.
Like, which is what we had last month.
Right,
Um,
like at March 22nd or like before our April meeting. But is 2 weeks or whatever enough time?
Well, and not only that, if you have a subcommittee meeting with the expectation that board members are going to be there for discussion, it's not a subcommittee meeting.
Oh, yeah, I'm saying, yes, that it would be a special meeting.
Well, so let me hear what the rest of the folks feel. Like, do you feel like you would like to pursue this conversation further at a special meeting in 2 weeks? Do you feel that you would like to move forward with this budget as it is? So that's the kind of. John, what do you-
I would move forward with the budget as it is. It's a draft. It's not like it's written in stone. We're all voting on it and adopting it. It's a draft. Subject to change.
I agree, I think it's draft subject to change. Right, because that's what the vote was, it's not a solid, we're not adopting, we're just accepting the draft for submission.
So I mean, I think we heard a pretty compelling argument that claimed to represent a large part of our faculty here. With empirical evidence provided, I mean, there's a source list for us to look at. And you know, some of us started newer, so we weren't necessarily in touch with the conversation. So I thought it was a budget issue. I didn't realize it was necessarily a learning community issue. So I don't like the idea of receiving an argument, getting sources and evidence, and then immediately, it seems like if we were to vote to, I didn't realize we were voting on a draft. I thought we were voting to adopt. I felt that was rather callous. So I wouldn't mind a special session. I wouldn't mind a little bit of time to kind of do some additional research and take into consideration what we've heard. Especially if it is indeed representative of the entire faculty, which I think the letter implies a majority of faculty. So that's sort of my take, is I would like a little time to research. I'm okay with a special session because of the sensitivity of the issue.
John, what do you?
I agree.
All right, so we're 2 and 2, and you would like the special session as well.
Yeah, I would like to further the conversation. And I'm okay with sending a draft to the Board of Finance, or maybe say, you know, we're still working through some of the.
Well, I just wonder if
I guess. I agree with Jay, but I think, since it's a draft, we haven't specified a time to send the draft pending changes, which could take
2 weeks.
2 weeks. Yeah, I mean, so, yeah, I mean,
Okay,
All right, so let's see, I'm sorry.
yeah, so I think, you know, it's a draft but I think merits further discussion.
Okay, how was Tuesday, March 15th looking for an option for a special?
Oh, that's on the- that's on the- I'm actually gonna put this on the 15th as that's a date.
Good word there.
Yeah, that's not gonna work for me.
Depending on what time you hold it.
How about a Wednesday, March 16th? Is that looking good?
Not for me.
Be open after, and then I come home from work and sleep.
If the meeting is a Zoom meeting, does that help at all?
Depending on the time, so I teach a class from 5 to 6:30 Wednesdays.
All right, how about Monday?
What time would that be?
What if we looked at a 6 o'clock meeting?
No,
Monday, 14th?
no.
What
We're
works?
both Thursday or Friday.
Um, How we begin. Does anyone have daytime availability on the 18th? It's a Friday. Really? How about you, Jim?
I'm working 6 to 2, but if it's like not, it'd be like super long, like the other time I'll take my lunch at that time. Or something, I can make it work.
Okay. Or if we did that. Yeah, let's see.
Whatever works for the majority, I'll make it work.
Okay. Thank you. That's very good. All right. So why don't we look at, how about 10 a.m. on Friday, the 18th? Oh, no. She's a teacher, so that won't.
It's the 18th.
Mhm.
And the first one is on the 18th.
Oh.
If we can do it on Zoom, you want to train on Zoom.
If we're looking at a daytime, is there any other day that week that would work during the daytime for everybody?
Not Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday.
Same would be done.
Okay. What about Thursday? during the day?
Thursday.
I could do Thursday after.
I can make anything work, so Thursday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I can make anything work. And Wednesday.
What was wrong with Friday?
Maybe that's the person.
No, oh, well, she's on a train, but Thursday won't work for you during the day, right?
After 2:30.
After 2:30. Okay, how about Thursday at 4? Thursday 4, 17th?
So that is it.
Yeah, let's try it. Let's go for drinks after.
Oh, I'm gonna drink now. This is a stressful time. Okay, 4 o'clock on the 17th, Thursday the 17th. How's that looking? Okay,
In Thursday or Zoom?
Either. I like Zoom meetings myself. I will probably, Zoom will be, oh, I can't do Thursday. Okay, I have a regular Thursday at 4 Zoom meeting already. How about, I can do 5 on Thursday. Just. I could also do 2 on Thursday, which would be a little bit easier.
Too much hard, I'll be riding home.
This is very tricky. Let's do Friday, let's do Thursday at 5.
At 5. So
Thursday.
make a motion. The 17th at 5.
I think we do need to make a motion in order to schedule a meeting, right? So.
I need to have a special,
I don't know if it's necessary to increase the motions that we can call special.
I'm going to
Just call
meeting
special
of
meeting.
the full board to discuss the continuing budget process. Thursday, March 17th, 2022 at 5 p.m.
This is Zoom over here.
Let's do a Zoom meeting. Let's just do a Zoom meeting.
On Zoom.
5 p.m. Okay. All right, so we got through that.
Second.
Oh, and that's right, it's a motion, not just a schedule. Jeez Louise, okay.
Okay.
Johnson, 10.
All right, it is a motion made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the motion passes. Moving on. The policy committee. All right.
We met,
Yes.
Jay and I had a really nice long meeting,
We did.
but it was a nice opportunity to kind of get him up to speed. And then, but we do need to meet with policy. We have a lot of work to do. We're scheduled to meet now in February.
April.
That'll be here, I'm sorry, in April. It'll probably be here before we know it, but I think it's gonna be really important to make sure we that everyone can make that meeting, otherwise we can schedule it, because we really do have a lot to talk about.
Okay, agree.
So that's, it's currently Tuesday, before the board meeting at 4:30. And I believe that's April 8th or April 5th.
April 5th.
April
No.
5th.
April, no, it's a full board.
Yeah, it's 4:30 before the full board meeting.
And it's April 5th, so the board meeting is April 5th. So if there's something that comes up that people can't make that meeting, if we can, do we have a chair of that committee?
I think that's, or
Me, you, and
Jay, The J is the chair.
Yes.
Oh, sorry, I'm lying.
Okay, so if you
You're
can
on the
touch
meeting.
I'm
base-
on board. That's what I thought. That's where I was going with that.
if you can, let Jay know, and then if we can't get everybody together at 4:30 on that day, maybe we can find another, mutually convenient time.
It's clearly so easy to do.
Yes, I was gonna say.
Right. Okay, all right, then, Health and Wellness, your February meeting, did you get a chance to talk about that last time? Yeah. That's fine. And application shared services.
They canceled their meeting for another scheduled date. So we'll be meeting next month.
Excellent. We already heard the PTO has an enrichment piece coming up at the end of the month, and that the play is underway, The Little Mermaid, April 1st. Everyone has to come. I just want to mention that again. You need to come April 1st. And also the after school program will be beginning soon. More details will come on that soon. And we'll be meeting, the PTO will be meeting next week. So it's a funny month.
Yeah, also the sixth grade is doing some fundraisers. There's the icebox shirts, so look on hotel PTO page for the link. And also they're doing the takeout pasta dinner, April 5th.
Cool.
Last year. I want to say it's, I think the first Friday, no? not April 5th, second Friday.
Is it the 8th?
Is it the 8th?
Yeah, I think so. It's the second Friday.
Yeah, yes, it's in there. Sixth grade pasta dinner takeout. It's at 5:30 to, it's at 7:30. If you need tickets, contact Jenna Brown or Kimberly Joe. You can find them around town. If you are interested in, you have to purchase tickets to pick up because they need to know who to prep for it.
Is the sixth grade still doing the bottle collection?
I think Marinelle is done. She raised the, oh, Amy, you're doing, okay, for next year. So Amy's already starting collecting for next year.
Dump truck full of them.
Do you want them? Right?
No, they
No,
have to
No,
get
it's
rid
going
of
to the machine.
Yeah,
Every hole. So
right,
with,
and clean.
but with the lid on.
You have to see the label. That's the big,
They have to go through the machine.
right, so they can't be crushed, the label will be.
It's a terrible job, and I am so proud of Amy and Mary Nell for doing it. And I know it.
I can do it.
It's mine.
It is a moneymaker, it works.
This time.
Yeah.
Okay, great, thank you. Anything else from the PTO? That was the big. Excellent. Okay, to be second Tuesday, so school safety and security, we already got an update on that, but is there anything you wanted to add, John?
And just like with the announcement that is expiring, we want to make sure that people who do come on to the campus who, vendors and things like that, do check in and have the appropriate badges so that the teachers, and so that the teachers know at the time that they're coming. If you know. Yeah, with like the cameras, the new 800 radios that the fire department has will communicate with the hotel radio. And yeah,
That's great. Okay, and the Board of Finance liaison position?
so the Board of Finance, they talked about the sort of, it's the same ongoing discussion about the replacement of the old tank and the roof. But they're dialing in on a final amount for that and working on how to get into the ongoing budget. They talked about the slide we paid for the COVID relief funds, but they needed more information from the slide company, and that more information came after that. So that's why that before. And the Regional 7 will have their budget meeting tomorrow night, the 2nd of March at 6.
Do you know if that meeting is available by Zoom? Or is it
I don't know.
on the website? Okay, and did the back committee want to report?
We've not met since.
Okay, excellent, thank you. We have, so moving on in our agenda, we have to consider a vote to accept the healthy food certification. So, someone want to tell us about that?
Just a clarification that I'm confused by it.
The healthy food certification?
Right, yeah.
So it's basically, is it in our health and wellness policy that we participate with healthy food? I believe it is, yeah. So it's just healthy snacks, healthy food, healthy ice cream. So we have to have a motion to participate. It has to be voted on for the healthy food. It's saying we don't sell schools and we don't sell food and vending machines and stuff like that. The motion. And then the combined food and beverage exemption is for like after school PTO events that they can sell.
Okay, that's what I see.
Yes,
Okay.
so that's, so we need two separate votes, one to have healthy food during the school day, and then the exemption. Healthy, it's healthy ice cream.
Yeah,
That's what it is.
healthy.
It's healthy ice cream.
Yeah, it's not good.
On the
So-
approved, but
So it must be healthy.
that's-
I don't get asked on Fridays for ice cream money.
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay, so we'll need two separate votes for this. And we'll need, so if someone would like to make a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the language for the healthy food option. The section 10-215.
So a motion has been made. Is there a second? Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Okay, that motion carries. And then we'll be looking for a motion for the language for combined food and beverage exemptions.
I'll make the motion for combined food and beverage exemptions, right now, statute listed.
Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor? Okay, so that means. Okay, with that, that's the last item on our agenda. We're looking for a motion to adjourn. Okay, all those in favor?
This is so bad. That was great.
Thanks for lasting for that long and long meeting.
No. Was that long?